they're producing wickets that suit them. But to be honest, they've got a great fast bowling attack as well. So probably can back them in a little bit more and, try and make the wickets a little bit quicker, I guess, and a bit more carry.
Hello and welcome back. Joining us today for a cricket chat is someone who is the only bowler in the world who is in top 10 ICC rankings of all three formats. Australia's fast bowler Josh Hazlewood is with us all the way from Lahore, where Pakistan and Australia will be playing third test match. Josh, first of all, thanks for taking out your time. Tell us that how is this trip of Pakistan is going on?
Yeah, it's been a great trip. Obviously, we're here in myself came in 2007, quite a long time ago now, for an under-19s trip. But it's been awesome. The security's been unbelievable from the Pakistan Cricket Board, and we felt really safe as soon as we arrived. The cricket's been very hard fought on a couple of batter-friendly wickets, but all in all, it's been a great trip and one test to go.
And Josh, most of the Australians, they are making their first trip to Pakistan. But I think some viewers, they might be surprised to know that it is your second trip because you came here 15 years ago with Australia under-19s. So what are your memories of that tour?
Yes, quite a long time ago now. I think myself and Mitchell Starc were on that tour. I think we played 5 one-day games against Pakistan. I think they got us 5-0. So it was a steep learning curve at that age, playing in foreign conditions. But I remember being a good trip, and I remember all the guys having a great time. So it's been much the same this time.
And your battles against Pakistan, they go all the way back to those under-19 days, where you also played the under-19 World Cup final against Pakistan, and Australia beat Pakistan. You took 4 wickets in that game, and you were up against Babar Azam in that game as well. So what are your memories of that final?
Yeah, quite fond memories, to be honest. It was in New Zealand, and we had great bunch of guys. We played all our round games in Queenstown and then moved up to Christchurch for the final, and we're lucky enough to win the semi up there, and then obviously play Pakistan in the final. So it was a great couple of weeks, and a great way to finish off a tour in winning the World Cup. And quite a number of players obviously are still in and around, with Mitch Marsh captaining that team, and Adam Zampa and etc. So great few weeks in New Zealand.
And Josh, your battles against Babar Azam, they're very interesting because you have dismissed him 6 times. And I think it will be fair to say that Australia really missed you when Babar batted for 600 minutes in Karachi.
Yeah, it certainly was a hell of an innings. I think it's one of the best Sport Things batting displays I've seen. On a wicket that was sort of starting to break up a little bit, a bit of reverse swing, bit of spin. So the way he played, obviously, saved the game for Pakistan, and probably gave him a little hint of winning on a few occasions. But obviously the runs were too much. But yeah, the battles with Babar, the last, since that 19s World Cup, but the couple of tours to Australia, obviously, and getting him a few times and him getting a few runs. So it's been, it's always a fun battle. I'll be honest, it's good fun.
Well, your record against Babar is exceptional. But if I ask you that who is the most difficult batsman you have bowled to in Test cricket, who will he be?
A few names come to mind, but I think AB de Villiers probably tops the list. I've only played 1 series against him, but I think he was the difference between us and South Africa in that series. I think he scored 100. A great 100 in the second test, and sort of swung the momentum back in South Africa's favour. So, yeah, I'll have to stick with him.
And who is the most difficult Australian batter, especially in the nets? Steve Smith, Marnus Labuschagne, David Warner. Who will be your pick?
Again, it's a tough decision, but I think Smith. I think Steve over the last 10 years, even in the nets, has been hard work, but probably in particular the last 6 or 7. He trains trains such a long time in the nets batting. Marnus is a bit like him in that regard, but just his dedication in the nets, and he's on every ball, so it's a tough wicket to get.
And Josh, I really wanted to talk about your recent T20 record. Right now you are number 2 in the T20 rankings. But initially you were not seen as a white ball bowler or a T20 bowler. You made your comeback in 2020 after I think 4 years. And since then your numbers, they are just amazing. Average of 15, economy below 7. So what changed in these 2 or 3 years?
I think first of all, probably opportunity. We used to play on a lot of test tours where the Australian T20 team was playing also in another part of the world. So that was sort of tough to get the scheduling right, and a lot of players were missing out on opportunity to play T20s for Australia. And I think that probably reflected in our efforts in World Cups, to be honest. But now we've sort of changed that a little bit and probably put more emphasis on the T20s at certain times, and probably getting our number 1 team out there a bit more often, which is really good. And we've seen the benefits of that in the last World Cup, and hopefully again at home come October. So I think in terms of my game, I think it's, again, opportunity, but it's just consistency of playing those T20s, playing in series, playing in tournaments, whether it be IPL or World Cups, and just learning from different people again. IPL is a great learning curve. There's so much experience in every change room, coaching staff and playing staff. So it's a great environment to learn. But yeah, I've come up with a few little tricks, I guess, but I think it's just about nailing what you're good at, and that's test match lengths early probably, and then hitting Yorkers and slow balls at the end. So but I always find it's an awesome game. Every game's a little bit different, throws up different curveballs here and there, and it's a great contest between bat and ball.
And you talked about that final or that event which Australia won in the UAE recently, T20 World Cup. And we saw that in the first few events of T20 World Cup, Australia, they struggled a bit. But this time, not many people were expecting that Australia would be the champions. So how do you define Australia's journey or Australia's success in that tournament?
Yeah, I think it goes back to probably the planning and having, those guys. We've probably got a lot more T20 specialists now, I think, and just getting that number 1 team on the park, those 11 or 12 or 14 players sort of in the squad and playing all the games leading into the World Cup and knowing their roles and having great clarity, in their roles within the team. I think we've got a couple of great finishers in Stoinis and Wade, and they've been backed in, especially during the World Cup and leading into that. We opted for the 3 quicks and spinner and the all-rounder to sort of round out the 20 overs, and we found that works, the majority of the time. So it's just having that clarity of everyone knowing their role and everyone playing to that. I think a big one was Mitch Marsh going up to number 3 also. He had an unbelievable World Cup, and he hits the ball so hard, and bowlers are quite intimidated by him. So he's been a big part of our team as well.
Josh, you talked about Australia going in with 3 seamers and a spinner in that World Cup. Coming towards the test matches, we have seen that most of the time when Australia, they come to subcontinent, they play with an extra spinner. But if we look at historically, that second spinner, that experiment normally does not work. So are you happy with this strategy, or you think that your best fast bowlers should be playing no matter what the conditions are? Even if it is a fast bowler, but the conditions, they are flat, he should be playing. What's your take on it?
Yeah, to be honest, I think the conditions, obviously the main reason. And we've seen here in Pakistan that, the first 2 wickets haven't really favoured any type of bowling. The spinners have probably got more wickets than the quicks in general from both teams. But I think it's just you're weighing up every time you go to the ground and preparing. I think you're having a look at the wicket and trying to sum it up and, what's going to happen. Is it going to break up? 2 spinners better than 3 quicks? I think another point in our team is you got Cameron Green there as well, who can bowl, close to 140. He can definitely do a job in these conditions and plays as your third seamer. So, I certainly agree with what we went with last test and what we're going with this test as well. So, it's great to see Mitch Swepson. He deserves a crack, and if it's me sitting out, then that's fine. So, whatever's best for the team in these conditions, and we'll give it another crack.
Josh, matchups, it's a very interesting topic these days in cricket. I mean, data and numbers. What's your take on it? I mean, how much importance you give to data and numbers? I mean, do you go to your coaches or analyst and ask him that what are the weaknesses of certain batters that you are going to bowl to?
Yeah, we certainly have bowls meetings and come up with different theories and different plans. I think it's just natural that some bowlers are going to match up better to some batters and vice versa. So I certainly know that when we play England, and we've played England a lot in the last few years, myself and Pat, matched up pretty well to Joe Root, and even Nathan Lyon's got him out, a number of times. So, we're the first three bowlers used in that instance. And, if we're coming up someone different like a Johnny Bairstow, then Stark's probably first on, trying to hit him on the pad. So it's every batter's different, and it's just natural part of cricket that people match up different to different players. So I certainly think it's a big thing, and I think it certainly weighs on the batter's minds and vice versa if they're on top of a bowler. So it's funny how things work.
Josh, just a few more questions on your career. If I ask you that, what's the best spell you have bowled in your career? Who would be your pick?
I think if you're going on, purely wickets and how the game went, I think it'd be the 5 for 8 in Adelaide against India. We wrapped it up pretty quick there. Paddy Cummins started beautifully, and I think they were about, maybe 3 for 20 or 30 when I came on, and was lucky enough to get a few nicks through to the Paney and take 5 for 8. So, it's hard to go past that one. It certainly sticks out.
But Australia, I mean, they won their test match in Adelaide, and then after that, India, they made a comeback, and you took 5 wickets in Brisbane as well. But Australia, they could not seize the series. What do you think? What went wrong for Australia in that particular series?
I think we come up against a very strong Indian team. They've been outstanding for a number of years now, and they're probably the one team that we, I guess, when they come to Australia, they come to win. They come with a different outlook, I think, on the game when they come to Australia, and probably obviously past experience has helped that with them winning the last 2 series down there. But I think the Indian team's going from strength to strength. They've got so much depth. It doesn't matter if you're playing the best 11 or, anywhere down to 20, 25, 30th best player in India. They're outstanding players, and they're probably, born to play for India in some aspects. And they played better cricket than us in, for probably the majority of those test matches and looking back. So, I can't wait for the next series.
So, Josh, just one last question about this ongoing series. You played in the first test match in Rawalpindi, and we have talked about this fact that the conditions, they are very flat. But what's your take on the 2 pitches that we have seen in Rawalpindi and Karachi?
Yeah, I think there's got to be a bit more in it for the bowlers, obviously. We've seen 2 draws, and I know the draw percentage is quite high in this country in Test cricket and in first-class cricket. So, there probably needs to be a little bit of a change. I know they're producing wickets that suit them, but to be honest, they've got a great fast bowling attack as well. So, probably can back them in a little bit more and, try and make the wickets a little bit quicker, I guess, and a bit more carry. I've heard that Rawalpindi can be like that. So, and then I think Karachi probably needed to just break up a little bit more towards the back end and come into play for the spinners. So it's not far off, I think, and there obviously hasn't been many tests played here in the last 20 years, but it's a good way to start. And then they've got sort of a marker for where to go from here. So we just need a little bit more competitive between bat and ball, I think.
Josh, thanks a lot for taking out your time and being with us. It was really nice talking to you. And we wish you all the best for your upcoming games. And I hope that we will have some really good cricket in Lahore in test match, in the 3rd test match, and then in the remaining ODIs and T20.
No worries. Appreciate it. Thanks.